For every 8 members, that's $1,200 for the day.
Right.
Your cost is 8 times 10 for $80. Okay, and $150. Your $1,200 coming in, $230 going out.
Right.
That's why this gets really very profitable once you get
It
past break
scales very
even.
quickly. Yeah.
It does. And you get
Talk
to
to me.
30, 40, 50 members in there, you are going to be a very happy camper.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Pursuit of Profit podcast. Today's guest is a true pioneer in the world of franchising and senior care. Peter Ross is the CEO and co-founder of Senior Helpers, one of the most recognized and respected home care franchises in the country. They have over 400 locations across the globe. But today, we're going to explore his newest venture, Town Square. It's an innovative adult daycare concept. It's designed as a 1950s-style town, complete with little storefronts, a theater, a diner, a craft room, a gardening room. And Peter shares how Town Square is transforming adult daycare services by blending memory care and social connection in a setting unlike anything else in the industry. Here's what I love. Town Square has a solid item 19 earnings claim with average revenues exceeding $1 million. And with private pay, VA benefits, and government programs, seniors are joining and many locations are breaking even before they even open. Let's welcome to the show, Peter Ross. I think you may be the most accomplished entrepreneur that we've had on the show, knowing your brands like Senior Helpers, knowing what you've done with Doctors Express. I've referred clients to Senior Helpers. I've referred clients to Doctors Express. I've referred clients to assisted transitions. And today we're going to learn about your newest venture, which is Town Square. If you could, for the audience, just dig into your background because it's colorful and accomplished, and it's an honor to have you on the show. Thank you, Peter.
Hey, Cliff, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been very fortunate to have tremendous mentors and training in my corporate life. I started my career with ADP, was there for 16 years and I couldn't hold a job. I had 9 jobs, but the last one was vice president of marketing for the company and went to work for Ernst& Young. I wanted to learn more about the financial side of business. Even though I was head of marketing, it gave me a great insight to how people make money. How does the financials work behind the scenes? And then my last corporate gig was a great experience learning Six Sigma and all the fun stuff as vice president of sales for Intuit, and really gave me some tremendous background before venturing into what I consider my mission-driven, for-profit focused entrepreneurial career.
Yeah.
And a long time ago, I learned franchising. And to say I drank the Kool-Aid would be an understatement. And my first foray was with my partner, Tony Bonacuse, who was to start Senior Helpers. And it was all personal experience. My mother, grew up in the great state of Maine, and my mother, I was trying to find care for her. I couldn't find it. So eventually we had to move her into a facility, which I knew she didn't want to do. But I didn't have a choice. I was living in New York. She was in Maine. And so at that point, I said, there's got to be a better way. So when Tony and I were brainstorming on businesses to get involved with, we really felt senior care was where it at. And then that really formed our finding of Senior Helpers. So we started that back in 2002. We opened one in Baltimore. We got off to a great start. I then opened one in Southern California. I actually lived in Orange County. So when I moved back out of Intuit, I started Senior Helpers out there. And then we started the franchise. But we knew we wanted to franchise from the beginning. I had done research in senior care. I knew there were more folks that had already done it. We weren't first to the party. Even though senior care was still pretty new, I did my research and found that that's really what we wanted to do, but we didn't understand franchising. So we hired a consulting firm, iFranchise Group. They were fantastic in trying to help us understand what franchising is. I've run large divisions of companies, both nationally and internationally, but I didn't know franchising. It's different when you have someone working for you directly versus having a franchise partner. So it's been an amazing journey. iFranchise helped us a great deal. We work with DLA Piper to help us with the attorney, the law part of franchising, to understand that well. And I really want to make it a two-way street for franchisees. So, and I just learned. And we started franchising Senior Helpers the end of 2005. Our first franchise opened in 2006. Now Senior Helpers has more than 400 franchise locations in Australia, Canada, and mostly here in the US. And then as I drank the Kool-Aid initially with senior helpers, in 2008, Tony and one of our other partners, Scott Berger, who was actually a doctor, which helps,
Hmm.
we created Doctors Express, and it really grew really fast. And the first ever successful franchise of urgent care, because when you're dealing with clinical and medical services, franchise law and corporate practice of medicine is somewhat of an intersection. So you
Hmm.
have to be careful how you actually do it. But we created a really interesting model. Eventually sold Doctors Express in 2013 to AFC. Now, if you see an AFC urgent care, so that's done very well. I think they have about 300 locations. Assisted transition was a place for mom competitor. We felt we could really do something to help placement. I thought it was a great complementary franchise to senior helpers, which it was. And then we sold that eventually to Care Patrol, which is now part of Best Life Brands. And then Town Square. In 2018, I had a pleasure to meet the CEO of Glenner Foundation in San Diego, California, that were creating this new adult day concept called Town Square. They needed my help. They needed our
Nice.
help to find a way to finish that model, to perfect it. And I just realized at that point, when I look at senior care, I really understand that senior care is really three distinct markets. There's the haves, there's the have-nots, and then there's everyone else, where I call it the middle class. And
Okay.
for senior helpers, we lived in the haves. Cliff, if you had money, you could afford care. If you are not having money, then the government tried to help, and we could help you through the government reimbursement. But that middle class was really a challenge. And because they made too much money for the government to help, but not enough money to cover a cost of traditional home care. So that's why the light went off in my head that Town Square was the right option, because it brings an innovative adult day experience at less than half the cost of home care. So
Hmm.
more of that group can now afford, because 65% of seniors will need assisted care in their lifetime. And by the way, there's a shortage of facilities. There's only projected, based on the Wall Street Journal article, that only 25% of the demand for senior living facilities will be met, which means seniors have to actually age in place, which is what we want to
Yeah.
help them do, both with senior helpers of the Town Square. And that's really where that light went on. So I've had a pleasure of having 600 franchisees or more at all these brands. So it's been a great experience for me. The key to success in franchising is two words: happy franchisees.
You bet.
Happy franchisees are profitable franchisees. So that's our focus. It's always been that case. I've had the pleasure of selling senior helpers 4 times. I think I have the record for the founder still being with the company after 4 times.
Wow.
So I still run senior helpers and Town Square. I have two amazing teams
Okay.
and amazing franchisees. But it's just been a great experience, Cliff. One of my favorite quotes in life is, "Many a false step's been made by standing still." So we always have to continue to move, continue to evolve, continue to develop. And that's my goal with franchising, is always provide the best tools, support, and training for franchisees.
Love it. Yeah, this is brilliant. I was wondering how you got hooked up with George Glenner. How did that all come together? Now you're explaining it. They
Well, I
were the
will tell you,
brainchild behind it.
they were. And I tell you, which was really, it means, Scott Tardy is the CEO of the Glenner Foundation, actually a really good friend. But our franchisee in San Diego, David Wallace, was the chair of the board of the Glenner Foundation. So when they were looking at Town Square as an idea, he wanted me to meet Scott and to talk to the Glenner Foundation to see how we could work together. I looked at Town Square in an empty warehouse with a construction hat on in January 10th of 2018. There was a half of City Hall facade built by the San Diego Opera Company. There was a Ford Thunderbird, 1959 Ford Thunderbird under a tarp, and a 1957 jukebox under a tarp. That's all I saw, Cliff. I said, "How would you like to open 1,000?" I said, there's such a need for this in the country. And that's really where the brainchild was. So the Glenner Foundation, which has 3 adult days, one of them is a Town Square, was really kind of the brainchild behind it. But
Mhm.
what you do with it to make it a franchise is what I brought to the table with our team, is to really try to package it so that it could be delivered quite nicely to franchisees for their success.
Right. Okay. I like it. Man, you've really worked that vertical of senior care. So I love all the categories that you've been in. There's 5 things we focus on as consultants, right? Anything involving tools, anything involving pets and animals, the silver tsunami, so anything graying of America, anything
Yeah.
youth enrichment, and anything in the pursuit of youth, which would be biohacking, anti-aging, etc.
Yeah.
So this is very timely for us. This is actually a category in our book, which is Beyond the Brand, that we're
Yeah.
publishing in September. Love the category. I want to drill down deeper today
Sure.
on Town Square. I have a lot of questions. The space is huge. The investment is not crazy, but it's in a category that not just anyone can afford.
Correct.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about what's open. Where are you? I have questions about where we're getting these cars and all this retro 1950s feel. You know what I'm saying? Like, can I really get a 1950s TV? Are you doing a lot of props? You mentioned something about the theater, right? Doing some construction. How are we creating this feel, and how are you scaling a 1950s Bel Air in the middle of the garage, if you know what I'm talking about, right? There's the garage that
Well,
you have in there.
we've had some really innovative, we have really great partners and vendors that can get us a lot of this equipment. The
Really?
cars, though, are really interesting. Is the goal is to create this 1950s, 60s kind of feel for a working town. The one thing I realized with Town Square initially, Cliff, was that we made them too big. When I went through the transition, because at the time Town Square and Senior Helpers were together, when we sold Senior Helpers the third time to Advocate Aurora Health, we didn't sell Town Square with it because it was right in the middle of the pandemic.
Okay.
So Town Square, I delayed a lot of the openings for Town Square because of the pandemic, but also realized at that point that the private equity firm and I went back to them in 2023 and said, I'm not going to do this Town Square thing for you without owning Town Square. So I acquired Town Square back from Alteris in 2023 so that I could then build the team, build the way I wanted to do it. And we did. We have now 10 open. 8 of them are franchise. One of them is a corporate store. One is our affiliate with a garner. So there's a number of 10 open. There's 2 in Florida, 1 in Georgia, 1 in Texas, 3 in New Jersey, 1 in Maryland, and the 1 in California. We have 6 in development.
Okay.
So we are opening one soon in Richland, Washington. We have also Sacramento, California. We have 2 in South Carolina, 2 in North Carolina coming, 1 in South Carolina. We have 1 in Bergen County, New Jersey, that will be opening as well. And we have 10 more that are in development that are already sold. I want to let the audience know that when I took over the ownership of Town Square, I really wanted to focus on building the team. And what that meant was building a really franchise growth team that we could have all the programming done, all the training done, understand how site selection is working, all the construction process is done. And we also, I call it Town Square 2.0 because I really felt when we said 10,000 square feet, Cliff, we never got 10,000 square feet. We got 12,000, we got 14,000, we got 13,000. And it became really, while it was great and they're growing very nicely right now, the time to break even into profitability took longer because you had such a huge footprint to build.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to make it more of a 6,000 to 7,000 square foot, which we've done now. So all the new ones opening now are in that size range because I wanted to keep the investment to $1 million. I want to make sure they get break even almost at opening.
Wow.
So I want to make sure that profitability was there going forward. And it was also just easier to get more franchise candidates able to afford it. We're SBA approved. So that helps with the financing of this. But to your point, it's not like Senior Helpers where you're all in as $150,000 to $200,000.
Right.
Yeah. Town Square, you're talking $1 million all in. Not that it has to be all your money, but it's a significant investment for people. You certainly have to have liquidity in that $250,000 range to do it. But what I look at is this, you mentioned the tsunami. 80 million baby boomers start to turn 80 years old next year. Let me repeat it. 80 million baby boomers start to turn 80 next year. 2030, Cliff, there'll be more people over the age of 65 than under 18.
That's right. Elon said it. There will be more adult diapers sold in America than baby diapers if we don't start repopulating this country. It's
Thank
nuts.
you. And I think which is part of it. But I mean, to push it back a little bit about Elon's comment, though, it's not that there's not babies being produced. He's doing a good job at it as well, by the way. But but at the same time, you have so many seniors. Baby boomers were the biggest generation in our country. Right. So that's part of that challenge of, it's not like we're not populating. It's just we have
Right.
so many
We're
up
aging
here.
faster. Yeah. We're
Well, but not only
absolutely.
aging faster, when you reach the age of 65, you're going to live another 23 and a half years on average. So think about that. So
Yeah.
people that are hitting, they have to get to 65. But once you hit 65, you're going to live into your late 80s on average. So that stress is putting on the government, the stress is putting on community, the stress is putting on family caregivers is immense. And really, how do we actually take care of this? And that's why I talk on Capitol Hill, and I work with HHS to find a way to, how do we find ways of taking care of the seniors? Because the government needs them to age in place. It's too expensive when they go out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The family wants to age in place. That senior does not want to go to the house on the hill. So
That's
how
right.
do we find a way to make it easier for them? And that's why Town Square to me was that answer, because especially for people dealing with dementia, it uses a reminiscent therapy. So it really helps them gear with that, because it's such a stressful part for the caregiver when their family and their loved one is dealing with that disease. So Town Square becomes that place where they can let them go to, that they're going to thrive in, and they can have peace of mind that they're being well taken care of while the member, because everybody at Town Square is a member, we want them to belong, is that they're getting the best care, activities, all the things that they're going to get, they possibly can at Town Square.
I love that. You made a comment at the top of the call, which was there aren't enough facilities to handle the aging of America. Not only do you not have enough facilities, we're running out of family members to care for these people. We're running out of caregivers to care for these people. They're suffering from caregiver stress, which is equal to the stress of the elderly. So I
Exactly.
love what you're doing, because it actually gives the caregiver a way to breathe a little bit and say, okay, you're going to be there for a few hours. Like, I could reset. I could do something for me as the caregiver. I have family members. There's just a little plug to my Aunt Phyllis, who has cared for multiple people in her life, and it's stressful. And
Oh,
unfortunately, now she's in a place where some of those folks have predeceased her, and she's
oh,
now in a position where, what do I do with my life, and not realizing how much stress you're under when you're the caregiver. So I think your model checks a lot of boxes, and it's not just for the elderly, it's for the family,
oh.
and it's for the caregiver, hands down.
Cliff, it's a great point, because the Center of Medicare and Medicaid Strategies, CMS, just came out with a pilot program a year ago called Medicare Guide. And what Medicare Guide is, it's an 8-year pilot program by CMS
Mhm.
for respite. And let me
Yeah.
explain how it works. It works for Town Square, it works for senior helpers. So if your loved one is being diagnosed with any form of dementia, there's 300 CPT codes that are forms of dementia.
Mhm.
Okay, if they are diagnosed with dementia, and there's 8.5 million people, unfortunately, in this country that have been diagnosed, they're eligible for guide reimbursement by Medicare. It's the first time Medicare is reimbursing either adult day or senior care ever. So
Interesting.
anyone that's been diagnosed gets 30 free days at Town Square. Anyone that's been diagnosed gets 83 hours of free home care paid by Medicare. So we're now able,
Excellent.
Cliff, to show outcome data for them because of the tools we use at Town Square and senior helpers to really find a way to say we can cut down the cost of care. We can make people safer at home. We can keep them out of the hospital, out of the ER, out of these facilities, which they don't want to go to anyway. And there's not enough, to your point. Okay,
That's right.
that's what we're doing. So Medicare now is seeing the role, but Medicare didn't do this for the people with dementia. They did it for the family member. They call it respite care.
That's right.
So that 3 days at Town Square every week, those 3 days that your aunt got back in their life, they can actually do something without worrying about their loved one, because they know they're being well taken care of.
Mhm.
People that are daughters and sons taking care of their parents,
That's right.
and they have their own children to take care of. So there's all this stress. 20 years ago, there were 13 family members for every family member that needed care.
Right.
It's now down to 3.
Right. Right.
So think about, what you just said is exactly what we're dealing with. And that's why, to me, it's mission driven. The reason why I keep doing this after selling 4 times and why I started Town Square was because we've got to try to make a difference here, provide the resources for people to do something that they can allow them to age in place and the dignity of their own home. I think our members and our clients, I think they live happier. I really do think they live longer with a better quality of life. And why can't we have golden years in this country? When I had a private equity person who toured Town Square, and he said, Peter, aging in this country is all negative.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's on your way to die. Okay? Everything about it is negative, negative, negative. You made aging fun.
You've heard from some incredible franchise brands right here on the podcast. If you're sitting there wondering which opportunity might be the right fit for you, we're here to help. At Phrenosity, we offer free consulting services to aspiring small business owners just like you. We'll guide you through a focused, strategic process to help you identify the best franchise match. Call or text us at 561-277-3710 or visit us on the web at phrenosity.com. That's FRANOCITY.com. We look forward to working with you. Listen, you did a video with that couple. I don't know if they're in California or where you videotaped the daughter. Was that California?
Yeah. Yeah.
That video is amazing. I watched that whole thing. It was well done, well edited. Just watching this woman go there and how she felt and her day. And then you see her in Town Square, and it was like, man, this woman just came alive and they're doing all these arts and crafts. And I just thought that was really well done. Did you create that?
No, well, actually, I can't take full credit. Our marketing company did it, but I mean, it's
awesome.
But think about this. We have people coming into Town Square that don't talk a lot. They're not very ambulatory a lot.
Right.
And within 2 or 3 weeks, they're talking up a storm, and the family doesn't realize what happened. To realize what happened was community. What we did with reminiscent therapy, we brought them back to life. We brought them back to, oh my God, I love what we're doing, whether it's gardening or artwork or working in the game room or the health club or the little blue house or the movie theater or the diner. In fact, the diner, I was in Town Square 2 weeks ago. I like to go in, and I was in one of the ones in Sarasota. And I said, I always like to go in the diner at lunchtime because I love to talk to members. The stories are just amazing. We have to realize we are all here because of our seniors. Mm-hmm. We are in this country because they defended it. We are here because they were nice enough to have us born. We're here because of them. And most societies in the world, Cliff, seniors are looked at as revered, elder stateswomen and men. They're looking for their wisdom. So I like talking to them. So I'm sitting there at a table with 5 or 6 of the members, and we're talking about Town Square, what they like, what they did today, what can we do to help do better? And finally, this woman, Mary, said, Peter, look, I hate to bother you, but you're in Bob's seat. And I turn around and there's Bob with his tray, waiting for me to get up. So they form these kind of friendship groups, in Town Square because they're getting that socialization. During the pandemic, they were isolated. Mm-hmm. So now they're able to get out. And when you get out, you feel alive.
That's right.
Okay. And that's really what they're doing there.
Yeah, it's great. You just described, just for the audience, this is, as he said, this is 7,000 square feet. So there's a cafe in there. There's a gardening room in there. There's a craft room in there. There's a movie theater. There's a theater in there. They could watch movies. There's a gym, little fitness area where they could do things, just exercising or, helping cognitive blood flow and tiring them out so that they sleep really well, which also gives caregivers a rest.
Yeah, that's a great point. It was funny. Back in 2018, Scott Tardy and I had a chance to meet the folks at the Today Show. They did a Today Show in Town Square in Chula Vista. Maria Shriver was the reporter. And we took her on a tour after. So she, when I was walking around Town Square, and she said, Peter, I just have 2 questions. Where's the Apple store? And I said, okay, well, Maria, I love the Apple store too, but we got to wait a couple more decades to get to the Apple store. Apple hasn't even been born at this point. Number one, she goes, well, where's the room with all the cots? The last thing we want our seniors to do is sleep, because we want them to go home fulfilled, active, and tired. So their family caregiver is not, it's like putting your child in childcare and just feeding them up with sugar. That's all you need to do is go home and just bounce off the walls while you're just getting home from work. No, we want active. I said we have a couple of places there that if they're tired, but no, there's no cots, there's no beds, there's no, yeah, we want them to be very active in their day. And
Love
that's
that.
our whole design with the program we have at Town Square.
Love it. Is there food? We go back to the diner for a minute. There's a couple of things I want to unpack. One of them was breaking even at opening. So maybe let's go there. Let's go back to one of your comments. So,
Okay.
what are you doing exactly? What it sounds to me is you're pre selling maybe a monthly membership or a package to then show before a certificate of occupancy, we have reached break even point. Let's open the doors and let them in. Is that what's happening?
Well,
This is a membership model?
yes, thank you very much. But it's not, we're not going to wait till making break even to open the doors. When the
Okay.
CEO is ready, we're going to open. But what we do though, Cliff, is that the month or two beforehand, the building's up. We're just waiting either for license approval or for the CEO. We can give tours and we have a membership model. So we sell memberships for 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 days a week.
Okay.
Now, depending on the payer source, the Veterans Administration will reimburse for adult day for Town Square. We're already a provider in that network. Medicare Advantage, long-term care insurance, the Medicare Guide. So depending on the program they're coming through, we'll modify it, but we sell memberships. So when you sign up, you're going to sign up. Our average members 3 days a week. So let's say you sign up for a 3-day package. You're going to probably get 2 free days in the month as part of the promotion. You pay it up front. So we can actually sell memberships before we even open. And the goal is, and it depends where you are, if you're building in Manhattan versus Iowa, the cost of building and cost of equipment would be a little bit different. But our goal is to get you to close to break even as we can when you open the door so that you're getting that 20, 25 members right already per day. Okay. Because what we want to do is get you cash flow positive as soon as we can. Now, the difference between this and senior care is that when you open senior care, you're starting from zero. The minute you're licensed, you're going to go out and get your first client. Right. We want to get 20 members on board, but we're not going to wait for it. I don't want you to think, we're going to wait until we get this before we open. No, we want to start because once we're opening, we're getting referrals from doctors, from neurologists, from people that are coming through as well. So we have enough ways of getting referrals. So the franchisee, if they're the center director, that's fine. But if they're going to hire their own center director, that person's hired 90 days before you open. Mm-hmm. The marketing enrollment person, Cliff, is hired 30 to 45 days before you open. So we want them out in the community, getting the referrals, bringing people in for tours, getting families excited. That's what we're looking to do. So we want to be able to open to a number. Our Marlton, New Jersey location had 25 members signed up before they even opened. So you want
25
that.
Doesn't sound like a big number, but that number's enough. Break that down for me. What does that mean? Yeah. What is the fee? What is the average monthly fee for the membership for 25 to be an attractive number? If this was the gym business, you need 300, right?
Yeah. Well, I hear you. And we're not the gym though. So when you look at membership for Town Square, the normal, and it does vary by market, but you're looking at around $150 to $160 a day.
Okay.
That's the cost of Town Square.
Okay.
So if you're selling memberships ahead of time, you might sell them 3 days a week for the whole month. That's 12. You might charge them for 11. Okay. But they're paying ahead of time. And if they use it, great. If they don't, we can let them move within the month. But if they lose it, they have to sign up. They're signing month to month, but they're all coming back. We have members there for going on more than a year now. So we do that as part of the membership. That's the fee coming in. So getting to break even, you have your rent, you have your staff, and for every 8 members, there's what's called a program or member assistant. That's the person that's working with them in that art studio, in that game room, in that health club, doing the activities that they're getting while they're there. And they're rotating like you're back in high school, Cliff. So, and what we've done with all these storefronts is we created 3 tracks. We have a tremendous programming team that's created all these activities geared for seniors. And we do it in 3 tracks as follows. We have one for normal aging. If you're just typically aging and nothing, you don't have a memory cognitive impairment issue, we have a track for you. Okay. If you have slight cognitive impairment, we have a track for you. If you're more moderate cognitive impairment, we have a track for you. So when we're doing our intake and our enrollment, we're basically going through a whole questionnaire. We're testing to see kind of where they're at. What's their diagnosis? What's their H&P?
Said that. I had this kind of typecasted as memory care, daycare. Because there's a lot of emphasis put on dementia and, as you said, the
We're good.
hundreds of
We're very good at it, but you have to understand is every senior
anyone
could
can
use
go.
Town Square.
That's right. And the
The
insurance
only time,
reimbursement is for
yeah,
everyone, not just because I have
exactly.
a cognitive issue. Okay.
Yeah, depending on what insurance they have and what they qualify for. But the only venue that we put them all together is the diner.
Okay.
So the diner might have 30, 40 people in it. So we're not going to be able to take and only put 30 of one track in the diner at the same time. We'll try to do as best we can, but that's fine. We want them to mix.
What do you,
We want that community feel.
what are you seeing in terms of as a percentage of revenue? Cliff, private pay is 60, 70%. Then it's Medicaid, then it's VA. Is private pay the leader or no?
Private pay right now is the leader, but what's catching up is the VA. The VA,
Okay.
if you have been a veteran, if you've been a spouse or dependent of a veteran, there's an eligibility for you that you could be in Town Square, and the Veterans Administration will pay for that.
Okay.
I think right now the reimbursement's $167 a day. So that veteran can attend Town Square for free.
Wow.
So there's ways of doing that as well. And by the way, that's been a great thing for senior helpers too. So able to help veterans. My dad was in the Army. I think it's amazing that we can do things to help veterans. Medicaid is a state-by-state thing, Cliff. So in Maryland, in our corporate location for our Town Square corporate store, we do take Medicaid. Medicaid reimburses at $23 per day up to 5 days a week. So it's not as high a reimbursement as the private pay. But I always tell franchisees in Town Square Town Square is like your investment portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
You don't put everything in gold, not everything in stock, not everything in bonds, not everything international, not everything in private equity. You mix it up. You want to kind of mix up and diversify your portfolio. I'm okay with having Medicaid come in at $123 because they go for 5 days.
That's right. It's a good
But when I look
mix.
at my average, thank you. I'm getting the payer mix in there so I can get that average payer mix that's going to still blend to 140, 150, 160. That's what matters because that's how you get to that break-even number. In urgent care, at Doctors Express, we knew 23 patients a day was break-even.
Okay.
And after that break-even, your only variable cost for us, and you asked the question about meals, we have a diner. The diner has a servery attached to the diner. We do not cook.
Good.
We are not a restaurant.
I didn't want to hear that this was a diner. Too complicated. Yeah.
Thank you. So we cater everything in. It's $10
Right.
a day. We get a continental breakfast, hot and cold for lunch, and a snack in the afternoon. That's what our cost is. It's part of the membership. We also offer transportation partners as well as some transportation on our own. That can be added to your membership fee. So when you get to that break even in urgent care, think about what's after your patient after that point. What's your cost? Mm-hmm. Well, in Town Square, we have $10 for meals. Okay. And for every 8 new members, we have a program assistant, which is $150 a day. So when you start looking at the math, for every 8 members, that's $1,200 for the day. Right. Your cost is 8 times 10 for $80 and $150. You're $1,200 coming in, $230 going out. Right. That's why this gets really very profitable once you get past break even.
Very quickly. Yeah.
It does. And you get to 30, 40, 50 members in there, you are going to be a very happy camper.
Man, that's amazing. That's not a lot of people, right? You look at a yoga studio, you look at any gym that wants to be the, low price provider of yoga, you need a lot of people. And what's crazy about those businesses is, yes, you have a lot of people, but it might only be 50 of those people that are 100% of your profit. You start losing gym goers, that business gets hit hard.
What I want to talk about too is one of the things I learned when I was researching Adult Day years ago. In fact, our Chula Vista location gets half of their members from PACE. It's a special program that CMS came up. They're called dual eligibles. And there's 12 million of those in the country. I love the PACE model, but I didn't like PACE because it took way too long to get break even. You only can add 2 members a month. Okay. So it takes a very long time and it's a big facility. But what I loved about PACE was the medical services. So we're now adding into Town Square. There's an exam room added in on top of the nurse's office in City Hall. Our health club is being rented out by Fox Rehab, who does physical and occupational therapy, and they pay us a rental fee. So what I've created in Town Square is this PACE for the middle class. Because if I can get seniors to come into town square and get their primary care, their ophthalmology, their podiatry, their physical and occupational therapy done while they're there, those providers bill Medicare directly. Okay. But we get them as members. Then we can blow through that break even very quickly. And that partnership, and it's also rental income. You're renting your exam
That's
room,
right.
you're renting your health club. So that's extra money coming in for the franchisee. In fact, we rent our facility in the evening. We've had people shoot commercials. We've had health events on a weekend where we charge $5,000 to rent the facility. So there's other avenues for income for the franchisee as well. But really, it comes down to is providing as much of a one-stop shop that we can do. And we really kind of built that into the model, and it's working really well.
I love that. That's great. That's the Walmart model, the big box retail model. We're going to monetize every square foot of space, right? They
Yeah,
know to the right of a decimal point how much money they generate
exactly.
per store per square foot. And I
Yeah,
love what you're doing. You're monetizing, let's call it dead space that might only get used for 1 to 2 hours a day, right? Because as you said, you're cycling them around. Not every classroom or every room, if you will, is scheduled every single minute of every day. Love that
exactly.
model. And
Thank
that
you.
is a
Yeah, it's
captive
been,
audience of clients. It's very smart.
well, it gives the family a place to say, look, getting seniors to doctor's appointments and to different events, it would be so nice to drop them at Town Square. And while they're there during their membership, they're getting the care that they need.
If it wasn't for doctor's appointments for the elderly, that is a full to part-time job for many elderly people, is to constantly go to these places and wait and wait, and then to
And
be
wait,
told you need to come back. You have to come back. We're going to do this, and then we're going to analyze it, and we're going to have to come back. It is it's death by 1,000 visits to the doctor. So the fact that you're doing this, again, de-stresses caregivers, de-stresses all the people that have to take them because they can't drive
it's
themselves.
great.
Very cool.
But Cliff, in addition, though, it's great for the provider. So think about the physical therapist. They usually have to go around to a community, drive around, bring their stuff with them. Okay, go house by house. And how many people can they do in a day? Well, at towns where I could do 10 physical therapies in 2 hours.
Sure.
And they bring their equipment in so they don't have to carry it around. It's already in the health club. So again, it makes their life easier. But the best part of that is they're our partner. In order for their patients to get care, they've got to be a member, which is where
Right.
we get our revenue for membership, and we get rental income from Fox, who pays $500 a month to rent the health club.
Love it. So I want to get into the item 19, but before I do that, I want to understand. I had 5,400 square feet, which is true. It's a range. You're saying 5 to 7.
Yeah, we're talking 5 to 7. And what's nice with that retail space, thanks to Amazon, there's tons of it available because the small, really small kind of retail spaces, office, those 1,500, 2,000
Yeah,
square feet, they're in demand. That's the Starbucks, that's
that's
the
right.
food. Those are the people that want that size. That 5 to 7,000 is a sweet spot, according to our site selection company we work with. And plus, a lot of these places we're renting are empty. And we're
Mhm.
going to sign a 10-year lease. So we're getting free rent. We're getting tenant improvement. The deal they got was amazing.
I bet
So,
nobody wants
so
that square footage. No one wants
you're
it.
in. Thank
No,
you.
I'm
So that's
serious.
why.
I agree with you. It's easy to get TI for the audience. Tenant improvement money is money given to you by the landlord to offset your construction costs or the tenant improvements that you're making to
Right.
the landlord's property. And he is in the sweet spot, Peter, because no one wants 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 square feet in class A, B space. Those
Oh
people
yeah.
have left already, and they've been replaced by Amazon or Shopify or any online retailer. So these big units are empty. Why don't you want 1,500 square feet? One, your model doesn't fit. And two, everyone wants 1,500 square feet.
Thank
Landlords are
you.
less negotiable. What are you
Why
seeing
go
per
there?
square foot in TI, Peter? Are you seeing
Well,
25 to 45 a square?
we're seeing. Well, again, it depends where we are, but I mean, what we're seeing though is I look at it as dollars, from 100 to 200 to $300,000. By the way, in our item 7, we say you might get tenant improvement, but our rate is all in. We had one franchisee that built out, and we had in there for construction. Let's say the range was 4 to 600,000. They got 300,000 from tenant improvement.
Wow.
So, so when you look at that, that item 7 can be even better. But as of I've learned my lesson in franchising. I am extremely conservative when it comes to item 19, when it comes to item 7. Okay, I've been sued one time in 600 plus franchisees, and it was an incorrect lawsuit, but it was settled by the insurance company. I didn't do anything wrong, but they weren't happy that item 7 didn't exactly equal what they spent. I want to make sure that people come in this with eyes wide open, and that our whole focus is their success. So item 7, item 19, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment as well, I want to make sure they understand that the item 19, which I'll go there now if you like.
Sure.
Item 19 was tough for us because we were trying to take a legacy size footprint, 12,000 square feet, take the financials from our corporate store in Perry Hall, which is 12,000 square feet in Maryland, and say, okay, what would that look like in 6? And how do we kind of allocate that down to the rent? And how do we allocate that to the insurance? And how do we allocate that to the utilities and all those things? So we were very conservative to how the goal in year 1, and we think the item 19 is very conservative, is that we wanted to make sure that people knew, hey, look, we want you to be profitable year 1. Okay, I think it'll be higher than what's in there, but again, I am conservative. I want people to go in there with eyes wide open. My whole goal is to get you to break even. I know in the legacy footprint, that's 45 to 50 members a day. Mm-hmm. I know in the 6,000 square foot footprint, that's 20 to 25 members a day. So I know I can get to that number much faster. All of our, the interesting thing when I did Town Square 2.0, if I had any facilities that were 150 people a day, I would have kept it at 10,000.
Right.
I had facilities that were at 40, 50, 60 a day. So I'm like, okay, so it's not a capacity issue, Cliff.
Yep.
It's more of an issue of I can grow the number, but I can get to that number so much faster if my break even is a 20 versus 50. I'm going to shrink the model. Now, I apologize right now to you, Cliff, because I know how much you love the car. There's no car in the new footprint. But let me explain. We did put a fender in the garage for you. And I think you'll still love it. But what we did is we took all the storefronts from the legacy model. We looked at all the membership feedback from them. Okay, we looked at the franchisee feedback, and we said, okay, we're going to take these 12 storefronts down to 7, but we're going to take the most popular ones. So we were able to take that and customize that. There's still a park in the middle. It still looks like a town, okay, but it's just a smaller footprint for you. Makes it easier. In Perry Hall, we have some spots where people can hide. It's so big. So we're like, okay, we need to cover that. Well, what's nice with this, it's much more condensed, much more concise. We have 2 meal times, which means we can get to that 75 capacity. The other thing I did with the Town Square 2.0, I love multi-unit opportunities in brick and mortar. So you can buy 3 units. You basically buy 2, get 1 free. And how we're visualizing this is that you open your first one, you start filling it up. Once you start getting to 45, 50, 55, 60, you're seeing, Cliff, where the people are coming from.
Right. Now open up the second.
Thank you. And by the way, when I open the second one, I don't have to worry about big breaking even. I just move my members up there. I'm already break even.
Right.
So I'm building my other one up anyway. So the goal is to get those to 50, at 50, 60, 70, it's extremely profitable. So as we get there, we can start building that and come up. I call it a hub and spoke mentality. I did the same thing with urgent care. Is that you start building them, and now all of a sudden you have a multi-unit owner, okay, that has 2 or 3 town squares, and maybe more someday, but to start out 2 or 3. And they're seeing it. We already have our Fort Mill franchisees already looking for, and they just opened 6 months ago. They're already looking for their second location in Charlotte. So they see the benefit of kind of where I can do, and it's a smaller footprint in Fort Mill. Mm-hmm. So they can see kind of where they can go. And that's the power of this, is taking that. And plus, once you have 2 or 3 in an area, your social media, your digital marketing, your marketing, you can put it across all 3 in that same area. You also can use some of your staff to cover more than one center. So it gives you some real economies of scale, which is it's all about numbers, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we want to help as many people as we can. We want to put as much in the bottom line as we can.
That's right. It's all math.
Thank you. It's always
your work. It's always almost all problems are math problems. Yeah.
Thank you. They are.
So I have an item 7 of 847,000 to 1.4 million. That's the range I have. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Okay.
It is accurate.
And it seems like you're comfortable at $1 million. Yeah, right on.
Well, again, the goal is to get to that, because I think that's where it will come out. But again, I've learned item 7, there's a range because building town square in Manhattan is different than building it in Sheboygan.
Right. Right. What is the item 19? Did you use multiple locations, one flagship?
So we use our corporate store in Perry Hall, which was closed by the state of Maryland during the pandemic for 2 years.
Yeah.
So that now is doing very well. In fact, next year's numbers will be much better. But that's on the legacy model. So item 19 was built off of the corporate store in Perry Hall with allocating rent and things like that. It's all the notes in there because we had to kind of say, okay, what would this look like in 6,000 square feet or 5,400 square feet? So we kind of did that as best we could. And as you'll see, you're getting to 6-figure income years 2, year 3, and obviously growing from there. The other thing we did was we took the Chula Vista, the original town square, and we put in there their average census per day. Okay. They're an 8,900 square foot center, and it's all not for profit. They don't do any private pay.
Okay.
0.
Wow.
No private pay. It's all either VA or PACE. Okay. But they're averaging, as you can tell in the item 19, around 60, 65 members a day. Okay. So what we're trying to show people is that's not pie in the sky numbers. Our largest center in University Parkway, from a revenue perspective, which has only been open a year, hit 67 members yesterday. Okay. So I wanted to be able to translate that down to the footprint because I always think in an item 19, my goal is to give you a pro forma that you can do, not me.
That's right.
Okay. Here's your numbers. Okay. It's not a guarantee of performance. You decide how many members you want. Right. And when I started all 4 brands, I always did 3 pro formas. I did a very, very conservative one. I did a very, very aggressive one, and I did one right in the middle. Okay. I encourage franchisees to look at all of those. The bottom line for us, what's nice with Town Square, which I tell with everybody that's ever been an emerging brand, I've done it now 4 times, is that I'm going to park my staff at your center to get you profitable. Mm-hmm. Because as a new Senior Helpers has 400 plus franchisees. I don't want anyone to be terminated. If something happened, it wouldn't torpedo the brand. Okay. Well, at Town Square, you have 10 open and 15 more going up. I want to make sure all those are profitable because for 2 reasons. 1, I don't want them to lose any money. Number 2, I need them to validate. Mm-hmm. The key to successful franchising, people talk about training and systems and strategy and tools and all this other stuff. It's happy franchisees, it's profitable franchisees. So, we need to make sure they're going to do very well. We have new franchisees coming on now that are amazing what they're bringing to the table from backgrounds. But again, they see that opportunity. Adult day, there's 5,000 adult day centers, Cliff, in the country. 95% of them are Medicaid only, not for profit. They are all in one room. If you ever walked into an adult day center, you walk through the lobby, you're going into a big conference room. Right. Everybody is doing the same thing, the same arts, the same crafts, the same bingo, the same movie. Well, they're going to look at the clock at 3:00 and go, it's time to get someone picking me up. Yeah. At Town Square, we have to nudge them out the door.
Right. Yeah, because you curated it for them. It's for them.
It's for them. It's not for everybody else just to come into a room so I can make a lot of money because we're all one room. Yeah. No, we're gonna put you to work. We're gonna give you things that are gonna be really challenging you, and you're gonna love it. And that's what we want to do with Town Square. I always use the analogy: the current adult day, centers out there are like your neighborhood park. Town Square is your neighborhood Disneyland at the same price.
Mm-hmm. I'll take it. Go back to the item 19 real quick. Is there a top line gross financial performance rep, or no? It's all based on numbers of attendees.
No, it's all gross. Well, no, the gross numbers, the revenue numbers are right out of Perry Hall. Those are the real revenue numbers. What we were trying to do, Cliff, was taking the expenses down. Yep. Because your rent's not as high. Because it's not like in the smaller the standard, what we call the new standard home, the Town Square 2.0, that 5,000 to 7,000 square feet, that we feel the capacity there is somewhere around 80.
Okay.
Now, the legacy model, they get 150. But Town Square, we're looking at, as you get 60, 70, 80, that's when you're opening that next store, that next center. Okay. So that's the capacity we look at. So the revenue you see, but Perry Hall, the highest member count at Perry Hall has been 51.
Okay.
So it's nowhere near the 70 or 80, okay, that's at capacity. But I
Right.
mean, if you're at that kind of number at Town Square, it's going to be one of the most profitable ventures you've ever been in.
Wow. Interesting. So the item 19, I'm trying to get to a number, Peter. Do you have access to the item 19 that you could actually say a top line gross number?
No, I think in the item 19, there is a gross number. I think in the Perry Hall, it was over $1 million revenue for the top line. I mean, I'm not looking at it, but I do have a good photographic memory.
Yep.
It's over $1 million is the top line revenue. It gives you the revenue both, and then it shows you with owner operator with absentee. So that's that top line. I expect Town Square to do somewhere between 1.5 and $2.5 million a year in revenue.
Okay.
That's what I expect. That's in either model, either the legacy. Right now we just had our top center do $205,000 in revenue in 1 month.
Wow.
Okay, so Cliff, we can get to that top line revenue, and it's not guarded. I love it because when I learned franchise law from DLA Piper, they said do not say anything.
Exactly.
About
That's why
anything.
I said what I said.
So I've learned that a long time, but
Right.
I'm not your typical franchisor. And I'm not trying to do this for the audience because I'm trying to sell you that you should be a Town Square franchisee. That should be your decision. I have put my own money into Town Square. I own it. Okay. If I did not believe the franchisees could be profitable, because that's the only way you grow a brand. Senior Helpers would not be the brand it is today. We were number one for Franchise 500 senior care category in 2025.
Yeah.
We would never be there unless our franchise partners, who are amazing, weren't profitable. It would never happen.
Agreed.
Doctors Express, it would never happen. Okay. So Town Square to me, that's why I moved the size. I moved the size because while I think, and I do see legacies are making money now. Okay.
That's right.
And that's my point here. If your break even, pick a number, is 25. Okay. For the next 8 members, you're bringing $800 to the bottom line every single day without any cost.
Yeah.
So if I can go from 25 to, let's say, 40, okay, that extra 15 members, okay, is going to be bringing between $2,000 and $3,000 a day to the bottom line.
Right.
So it's
That's
math.
incredible. That's incredible.
Okay. So that's why the model, when I saw it, I said, I got to make it easier to build. By the way, the site selection is fantastic. We use software that gives you all the locations available. We have a new franchisee that's joining us in Phoenix. They asked about these 4 areas. We had 66 possible places they could look at for Town Square.
Wow.
Okay, we help you with lease negotiation. We help you with the TI and the negotiation part of it. The franchisee's only goal once they sign is pick a site. Once they pick a site, it's handed off to our construction partner, and they build it out, and in 6 months, it will be done. Okay? That's how we do this. It's all just like Dr. Express. We're not experts in construction or real estate. We're experts at senior care and adult day.
Go through, before we wrap this up, I just want to touch on the staffing model. Reading 5 to 7 on a space. Is that accurate? Around 5 to 7 employees?
Yeah, so you're gonna every Town Square is gonna have the following 5 people, regardless of how many members you have. Okay, you're gonna have a center director. That can be the franchisee. We have some franchisees that want to run the center. That's up to them. Okay, that's not how we designed it for everybody, but if they want to do that, they can. You're gonna have a marketing enrollment director. You're gonna have an activities director. You're gonna have a registered nurse or an LPN. And even in states that, like New Jersey, is more of a social model, we don't change. We have a nurse at every single Town Square, whether you're a medical model or social model.
Smart.
That's because we want to be able to take care of, we want to make sure people are safe, number one. Number 2 is we have to dispense medication. The nurse can do that under their license. The last person, Cliff, is your receptionist. We call it their coordinator. Okay. So those are the 5 people that are there. For every 8 members, you have a program aide or membership aide, which is really a caregiver. But they're also the people that are going, and for instance, a program aide that's in the art studio. And as people rotate in, they're the ones doing all the activities for the people under the activity director's supervision. So that's your staffing model. So if you have 40 people, let's
Pretty
do the
flat.
math.
It's flat considering the size of revenue and opportunity. I like it.
You have 40, if you have 40 members a day, you have 5 that are there all the time. And for every 8 times 5 is 40. You have 10 employees working in the building.
That's right. I like it. Hours of operation. Is this a 5 or 7 day week operation?
Great question. So right now it's 5 days. We're now going to 6. So I had my cousin who lives in Florida, he said, he goes, Peter, us seniors, and he goes, we don't know what day it is. So we don't know what day it is until the big paper comes. And so for seniors and for their caregivers, Sundays we feel are church, and some other things we feel Sunday probably should be family. But we are going to start opening. We already started in Perry Hall, started opening Saturdays, and that'll be our new model. We'll be opening Monday through Saturday.
I mean, you don't need a lot of technology other than scheduling. Someone's got to schedule who's coming and when.
Thank you for bringing that up. We developed our own software. It's called Excite. We created it ourselves. It's customized for Town Square. It has a CRM component. It has all the things that the franchisee needs. And by the way, if they want another report, we design it.
That's great. We touched on a lot. This was very thorough. I think we took the deep dive I wanted to take. I like the model because I love the space. I was not happy at the top of the call with 10, 12,000 square feet. It was one of the things I didn't like about the business. I was sharing it with my wife, who has been in medical, home care, IV infusion therapy, you name it, her entire career. I'm like, it's a big space because I live in Delray Beach, Florida. So my antenna went up on this opportunity exactly. But I'm like, it's too big. That's like 10, 12,000 square feet. So then I get on the phone with you. Nope, someone like you that has this experience understands you have to obsess not just over royalty collection. You have to obsess over franchisee profitability. And that's what gets you that validation. So I'm really happy you shrunk the footprint. You shrunk the footprint, which is why I don't like home care as much. I like this model, 5 people. I love the ratio.
Senior Helpers has 30,000 employees. So
it's right. That's where you would lose me. I love the business and I love what you're doing, but for me as an investor, you lost me at the number of employees, but then you get me back in on a brand like this. Right.
Well, Delray Beach would be a perfect location in that size model.
I do like the model, I'll be honest with you. I like things like this. And there's, what's crazy is back in 2002, you were trying to explain to people the aging, graying of America and what's about to happen. Back then, they were turning 60, right? Now, then 10 years later, you're like, you do know how many millions are going to turn 70. Now you're saying you do know how many are going to turn 80. Like this just continues. It's just incredible.
It's a great runway for the business. I had a franchise, signing up yesterday that talked about, well, what happens after 10 years? I go, we have 5-year renewable terms. And they said, how many? I said, how many would you like?
That's right.
You're not going to move out of it. So, I mean, but you're also going to be able to sell it. Town Square, just like any senior care brand, has a value. It's an asset. So when you decide it's an exit for you 15 or 20 years or whenever it might be, you're going to be able to sell it for quite a bit of money.
Totally. Yeah. 90% of people want to age in place. They will buy ramps. They will buy elevators. They will buy more grab bars. They will buy more chair and stair lifts. They will do anything to age in place and not go what you refer to as up on the hill in a facility. So you check a lot of boxes for investors that want recession resilience, aging of America, AI resilience. I mean, if anything, you will benefit from humanoids. You will benefit from robotics. Your staffing model of, let's say, 8 or 10 could just be, 5 humans, and the remainder could be humanoids that run tasks. And you will be there in this business model very quickly. We're there with Optimus and everything that's happening. And they're going to be smart and they'll be careful.
They will. But I look forward to it, and I appreciate the time you gave us today. And it's not about royalties, folks. It's about taking care of our most folks that need the most help. And also your profitability. I mean, at the end of the day, I've made money in franchising. I donate probably more than I make a year. It's not about the money anymore. It's about what we're trying to do to change and make the world a better place.
I talk about it all the time. Legacy. If you look back on your life, it's like, what have I done? Where did I leave my fingerprint? when you get involved in these types of businesses, it creates an amazing, enviable legacy that most people will never be able to achieve. Caring for our elderly in a nation is just a legacy that's
I
unparalleled.
appreciate you saying that, Cliff. Thank you.
Seriously, I mean it. I can't thank you enough for spending the amount of time you did with us and giving us a good idea of your brand, Town Square. I'm excited to show it to clients. And Peter, thank you. I wish you the best.
Hey, thank you, Cliff. Appreciate it. All the
Got it,
best
sir.
to you and your family. Take care.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss out on more great content. And if you're considering investing in a franchise, whether it's the brand you featured today or another opportunity, we're here to help. Visit us at Franocity.com. That's FRANOCITY.com. We love to help you take that next step towards business ownership.